Hello, Amy.
Hello, sir. How are you this morning?
I am good. Probably got a bit of an echo for the moment. There we go. Fix that. So we got just a little bit longer. I've been admitting more people as they're coming in.
I sent the link to Rob Hendry with HBH. I did email you a presentation. I kind of tweaked it since Sun River. I was at a short school last week in Ontario.
Okay. You should have the ability to share your screen if you want to.
I should. I'm not too good with Zoom. I'm worse with Zoom than I am with Teams, but let's.
Now, Teams is just a battle no matter what.
Hey, morning, y'all. This is Karen in Cannon Beach.
Hello, Karen.
Morning.
First, I want to say, Dan, thank you for setting this up for us. Very much appreciated. Amy being willing to come and talk to all of us.
Yeah. I know you and I had talked last year.
I hope it relieves our anxiety a little bit, because as our October date rolls closer, I can't speak for the whole group, but I know that I've got a lot of anxiety about this task. So I'm hoping you give us some good news that can relieve that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you and I talked a little bit about this last year too. So hopefully what we have going can help you guys out a little bit.
Good. All right. Well, we're ready when you are. Do you want to do a roundtable introduction, or you just, you got all the public works teams, I think, in the on here with you. No pressure or anything.
No anxiety, no pressure with what's but I do need to start out by saying I am from Astoria. So, even though I'm in Pelton, I'm just I'm one of y'all here. So we're gonna make Dan go first.
Oh, you want an introduction? Because we got all kinds of people in this room all over the place.
Or do I need? You can do whatever you guys want. Well, I am trying to.
I think probably jump straight into your introduction.
Okay.
And let you start in with the lead line inventory.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. A long-time listener, first-time caller. My name is Amy Word. I'm with the State of Oregon Drinking Water Program. I am in the Pelton office. Lucky me, I have the short stick for the state, so I'm the one that's been kind of the face, the phone number, and the email for questions for this inventory requirement. I've been with the Drinking Water Program now for 16 years. And I'm based out of the Pelton office. Okay, stupid questions, because do I do is it start video? Is that how I'm supposed to do it? Then I select a screen?
It should say share screen.
So at the bottom, you should have the sharing little thing. It says share screen. And then have your PowerPoint opened up.
Gotcha. Okay. this. And
You
I need
go.
to- I need to-
Perfect.
I need to put it in the,
From beginning on the far left is we.
is that better?
Okay.
Oh, you gotta change your style a little bit.
I need to hit, it's on the wrong monitor. I need to go to the other side. Hold, please. How do I make it? I'm going to put this over here.
Wow.
It's defaulting to that side, so hold on.
So copy.
That's perfect.
Is that better? Okay. You know, how about, I should just add a third monitor in here because I added for Wi-Fi. Okay, so if y'all have any questions, I guess I can kind of see it, but you can interrupt me at any time and it's okay. Okay, so here we go. This is just kind of a shortened presentation that I had done from Sun River because I was at the short school in Ontario last week. And so here we go. Turn. There we go. Okay. This is just a picture of a copper service line connected to a lead service line, just for a gee-whiz pictures. What? Oh, there we go. Okay. So we're just gonna do a little background, the regulatory framework and the history behind this, the methodologies that you can use to determine your service line inventory, how to get started, some resources available, how to report, and questions or answers, or like I said, you can interrupt me if you have questions while we're going.
Okay.
So the lead and copper rule, I'm going to be throwing some letters out there. So hopefully you guys will know this. We have the lead and copper rule, which was the original rule. We have the lead and copper rule revisions, which is referred to as the LCRR, which was an updated rule in 2021, which is where this inventory came from. This was a congressional mandate, so then EPA had to incorporate it. And so that's where the lead and copper rule revisions came from, was from that mandate. And then the drinking water program has primacy with EPA to implement these rules as part of the Safe Drinking Water Act. So that's how we are here today. There is also a lead and copper rule improvements that is called the LCRI, which is a proposed rule. It came out late last year. Final comments were due by February of this year. I'm not sure if any of you had looked at it. The lead and copper rule revisions, the number of public comments on that rule were around, I think, 86,000 comments on this rule. The lead and copper rule improvements, last I looked back in March, there were over 250,000 comments on this rule. So I don't know, we don't know for sure what's going to be in this final rule, but EPA is hoping to have this out by the end of October. So it could change things a little bit, but for the inventory, it's not changing. But all we are focusing on is the inventory requirement. That's what we put in our OARs. And so that's all that we are looking at. You have to look at all service lines. Any of the laterals, it needs to include any irrigation lines, but it's okay. Anything over 2 inches is considered non-lead. So you just need to list it and then it can be classified as non-lead. You don't have to do anything else. If you do know what the material is, that's great. So we certainly are encouraging if you to know what the material is at this point. But for this initial inventory, it's okay to be, you know, if you don't have everything filled in, it's okay. But just knowing that at some point down the future, you will have to document what's all on the ground. There are 4 lines to categorize, and our spreadsheet does help you calculate it. The final line, the final meaning, we look at both halves of the line and to calculate out as be it a lead, non-lead, galvanized. And don't let the galvanized require replacement scare you right now. And unknowns. There will be a consumer notification and public education as a part of this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But of course, the end game is to identify and remove all lead service lines. So far, we have about 900 community water systems in Oregon and around 300 or so non-transient water systems. And we've received just a little over 100 service line or inventories at this point, and no one has submitted any with any known lead lines yet. So a little bit of the history. We have the original lead and copper rule came out in 1991 with some minor revisions. The LCRR, as I mentioned, came out in 2021. Then the lead and copper rule improvements, they're expected to come out at the end of the year. And then the rule applies to all the systems that actually have to sample for lead and copper. So the LCRR came out at the beginning of 2021. That was when the new administration came in, and they pulled back all of the rules that had been published, but then it was resent out or refinalized, whatever the correct word is, at the end of 2021, and it was not changed from its original format, so it was still the same. But what it included was a service line inventory requirements. There was some modified tap sampling requirements. There was a trigger level, which is italicized because I guarantee that's not going to be in there in the lead and copper rule improvements, and some corrective action. Okay, so the reason for the LCRI, honestly, is I feel they're making some of the changes that were from some of the comments in the LCRR that were not implemented when they put it back out. So they're just kind of doing some final tweaking on it. Like I said, it will maintain the inventory is still the same. What we added in our OARs, and for those of you that actually print them out, it's on page 165. If you don't know how to find the rules, let me know. I can show you on our webpage how to get to them. We put in the rules is the service line inventory. There was a service line replacement plan. I have it italicized. Yes, it's in the rules, and you ignore it. You do not have to have a replacement line submitted at the time of the inventory. So just ignore.
Hey, Amy.
Yes.
Karen, when we're done with the prezo, will you send us a copy of what you're showing us on the screen? And
Yeah.
when you send that, put that link on there to get to that the set of rules.
Sure. Sticky note. Yeah, I sent Dan the presentation, but I'll send a link to the rules.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have the regulatory basis for the inventory work, and Oregon does not have primacy over the LCRR yet because many states are waiting for the LCRI to be published so that we can apply for primacy for both rules at the same time. And once we have primacy, then we will be having to do a major update to our rules on what we are doing and what we can do to help you guys. So I just learned how to do QR codes. Yay me. 54 years old, I just now figured it out. This QR code is for EPA's LCRI page. And so it just kind of talks a little bit about what EPA, what it says on their page. They want 100% lead pipe replacement within 10 years. Improving tap sampling. That's really what that means is if there are any lead service lines identified, let's just say you have one lead service line, let's just say you have one. Well, that home would be then required to be one of your home tap sample locations until it gets replaced. But those homes only those with lead service lines have to do what's called a first and a fifth liter sample in their cold water kitchen taps. And it could be confusing because you have people that kind of struggle with just taking one sample, let alone having to fill up 5 bottles. But we'll see how it goes. There are proposing, and I am sure that this will happen. The current lead action level is 15 part per billion, and it will be lowering down to 10. We did kind of a little query search, and it's not really what results we've had come into this point. We don't really see that being a huge factor in Oregon. There will be a provision for systems are going to have to provide filter pictures in response to any action level exceedances.
And who's issuing those filters, Amy?
The water system.
Okay.
But I don't know a lot. There's a lot to the filters and it gives me a headache. And so don't worry about it at this point. So I'm hoping it changes some, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Like I said, the LCRI is not final. We're not doing anything with it. It's just coming.
Okay.
So like once that rule gets published, it's going to be 3 years before things get implemented that are different. So like the lead action level lowering to 10, it's still a few years out. It won't happen at the end of this year because we have to apply for primacy and blah blah blah. So
yeah, okay, great.
We have some time. This is a picture. Again, I've tried. I'm a desk person. They don't let me out much. I do surveys and whatnot. But I am part of the technical services unit, but I don't know a lot about what you guys do as far as what things look like in the ground. So if I'm saying something wrong, please tell me. And it's okay. You know, all kind of a Gen Xer here, and I don't get offended. What we are looking at, and I don't have a pointer. Okay, you have, I guess what I'm calling the curb stop is also kind of as what I'm thinking is where the water meters are. If I'm wrong, say something, and it's okay. But what you'll need to look at are both sides of the meter, both the public side and the private side. The private side to the home, not inside the house, which is all premise plumbing. You just need to know to the inlet to the house. Oregon is only requiring 1 inspection point per side. If you are able to see in the meter box, both sides of the line, of both sides of the meter, where it ties into, if you can actually visually see past, I think it's called a setter, and if you can see what that is, visual inspection, perfect, document it, and go on your way. Do I recommend taking pictures and all that kind of stuff? Yes. But you don't have to. But I would certainly make sure that your crews are identifying it while they're in there. I'm going to throw Salem under the bus. They do like 500 meter replacements a year, and up until late last year, they had not been noting the materials during their meter replacements. They are now, though. So it's just encouraged that while you're in there, make sure, even if you've already had the lines identified in past, it's good, just a good habit, just while you're in there, just double checking, hey, yes, we got it. It's still the same. We got it right the first time, and it's just good just to verify it. Any questions for the visual inspection? I know, and I don't know how many service lines you encounter that may have multiple material types, let's just say on the private side. I don't know. There's a town out here that had a major project, and they replaced a lot of their line with copper and replaced 6 feet into their laterals with copper line. So their meter went in, so they went in several feet, put in the meter, and then still past the meter was still part of their original of the copper line before they tied into the private side. And I told them, I said, you're going to have to know what you tied into. So in their case, they cannot see what's in the meter box to see what's past there, because they know that it's still copper that they put in. They just don't know what they tied into.
Amy Ray Steele from Thailand Water Co-op. If I understand you correctly, from the public side, we need to know what the line is. On the private side, we just need to know what's going to the house,
Yes,
not what was inside the house.
correct.
Thank you.
So I'll show you a picture here in a second. And as far as connectors go, you'll see there is a gooseneck identified. Let's just say you find a lead gooseneck or a pigtail on your end. Those are all supposed to be replaced. If you find it, you had one that's like, oh my gosh, how'd that get there? Well, you're supposed to replace it. And if you have any documentation on what your connectors are, I cannot tell you what a connector is. And I'm still trying to figure that one out, but you guys can help me with that. But that's part of the lead and copper rule improvements, is EPA wants you guys also to note any known connectors. It's not like you can just dig up the street and look at a connector. They're not expecting that of you, but any documentation you have that if you do have those identified, that they do want those listed in the inventory. Not necessarily this initial one, because there will be another one coming with the LCRI a few years down the road. We'll talk about that later. In the event you do have a gooseneck, a leaded gooseneck or pigtail, that does not make that line a lead service line. So I just want to make sure I put that out there too. So
say that again, Amy?
So some people, if you have a leaded connector, like a lead gooseneck or a pigtail tied into like a galvanized line, that connector does not make that line a lead service line. A lead service line is only the actual lead service line, the flexible lead service line. So a connector does not change that definition, although a lot of people were wanting that changed, but fortunately it did not change.
Do we need to document it as it's just the connection point, not the pipe, or is that a given?
Okay, one more time.
Are we documenting that it's just the connection point, not the actual pipe that's lead, or is that a given? You don't have it. We don't have it anyway. Okay, never mind.
I'm not.
We don't have that anyway, so we're good.
Okay. Okay. The big date in Oregon was July 1985. That was where we had a lead ban. So, our date is January 1986 or later. So if you have any new service connections past January 86, those can all be considered non-lead. And you can put that on the inventory that way. So hopefully that will help somewhat. There are several communities too that had a kind of a community ordinance I can't remember, I've had several of them message me last week, where they had formal requirements for new connections, and they required them to be, let's just throw their like 1-inch copper. I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was Oregon City or one of them. Anyway, and their date was like 1977 or something. So let's just say your city actually had formal requirements for what the service line material had to be, let's just say in 77, and you have it documented that yes, we had this service line requirement back in 77 that it had to be such and such material. Well, then that's the date that you can use too, if it's before ours. But you need to have that ordinance documented, which I'm sure systems that did have that well documented. There was a previous effort to certify no lead a long time ago. That original certification did not cover enough for the inventory. So you just can't say, well, we certified this back in 85, so we don't need to do this. Well, no, you still need to do this because unfortunately it did not cover the private side. So it still needs to be done. Okay, like I said, the lead connectors are not required to be included in the inventory. It's just strongly recommended that you put it in there. This is kind of in the template itself. None of you are over 50,000 people, but those that are over will have to make this inventory available to the public with a map and whatnot. But you should still have we're still trying to figure out how that's going to work. Some systems have kind of like your consumer confidence report. Those of you that if you put it like on your web pages, there will need to be probably like a dedicated spot for the service line inventory. Some systems had put kind of cross streets. Some people actually put addresses. So if a house wanted to look up what their pipe material is, they could actually look it up. So I'm not quite sure what it's all going to look like yet. So I don't know much yet. Some systems didn't really want to put a whole lot of personal information out there. So there's still a lot of kind of fuzzy gray area around this right now, as far as the public notification part, as far as what to post. As far as the inventory, what you need to do, start gathering the information if you haven't already, starting with the records, compile the data, even like building code records for any dates. Google Earth actually has historic map layers. So if you have a part of town that you think was new, you can go back through the historic layers in Google Earth. And if you're able to say, hey, yeah, we looked on such and such date, it wasn't there, but when we looked at this next map layer and it was there, then we're fine with that too. You just need to document that's how you looked at it. And then I would certainly try and do some verification with building codes if you can. Build your inventory, your initial inventory. Investigate, just kind of keep looking at your materials while you're in the ground when you have your regular maintenance that you're doing. Update the inventory while you're in the field if you have stuff going on. Complete the inventory, submit it, but then you can keep it's a very fluid document. It'll keep updating as you keep doing your work. And some of you you'll get it all figured out and you won't have to keep updating it, but it's certainly good just to keep double checking. Allowed methodologies, records review, look at the installation date, the pipe diameter. So the installation date, anything past January 1986 is non-lead. Anything over 2 inches can also be considered non-lead because we know lead service lines were not greater than 2 inches. Visual inspection is certainly approved. Physical inspection, and then we can talk about the statistical part. Things to look at for records, any service line installation records, tap cards, plumbing, maintenance records. Again, we're looking at the date. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if the water system did have a written standard regarding the pipe materials allowed, that date can be used. Just make sure you have that documentation. Any service lines greater than 2 inches can be categorized as non-lead. We're lucky because I think Colorado, they're using a 4 inches and greater is non-lead. So yeah, yes, we're only 2 inches here in Oregon. Okay. This is my house, ignore the cobwebs. So I've got a galvanized pipe coming to my house, then it does change to copper inside the rest of my house for my premise plumbing. You can do a scratch test. I've actually had some of the, and you don't have to do this, I'm just saying some people had submitted their inventories, and they're talking like the really small ones. Like I think one of them was a church. They actually submitted a picture of their scratch test, which was actually kind of cool. So you can use that. And these are things you can kind of help homeowners with too, because a lot of homeowners may or may not understand what an inlet is. I'm lucky I've got a basement at my house, so I can see the pipe coming in. Some people think that the pipe going into the hot water heater is the inlet, and it's not. There's the magnet test. So lead is not magnetic, but iron pipe is. You could do the resident survey. Some people have luck with it, some people don't. I can tell you Salem did not want to mess with it. What they did is they took out all of the service lines that they knew. They eliminated all the ones that were greater than 2 inches. They eliminated all the ones that were post 1986. Then all the rest of them is what they did their statistical method on. So now we can talk a little bit about the statistical part. This is a fabulous thing that I'm highly encouraging systems to do that do not have any known lead. So what this statistical method does is it's kind of giving you I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but you're looking at a 95% confidence level on this. And I'll show you some numbers here in a minute. But in the event you're starting the statistical and you actually find a lead service line, then the statistical is out the window and you can no longer do it. Then you will have to inspect all of the lines at that point. So the page is oregon.gov/LCRR. That is the page that I have the inventory templates on. I have the statistical guidance on. I have the FAQ page on. I think I show pictures of it here in a second and some other information. I'll get to the next page here to talk a little more about the statistical part. Okay, this QR code takes you to the statistical method document. Let's just say, because my math isn't very good, you have 100 lines that you've gone through everything, you've figured out which ones you know, which ones you don't know, and you have 100 left that you just don't know what they are and they're unknowns. Can you leave them as unknown for this initial inventory in October? Yes, you can. That's fine. Can you do the statistical method? Yes, and I encourage you to do it. So of those 100 lines, any unknowns fewer than 1,500, you have to do 20% of, you'd have to physically inspect. So of those 100 lines, you would do a randomization of those lines, and because they have to have that equal opportunity to be inspected. So then you come up with your list. 20 of those lines would have to be then physically inspected. So you do with your top 20 that's on your list. Yes, you could come into some that you just can't inspect for one reason or another. It's fine. Just document why you could not look at that particular one and then move to the next one down in the line. Once you inspect, then your minimum that you need to inspect, then the rest of the lines then can be classified as non-lead because of your statistical method. So it's just a very small number to look at than to fill in the gaps for the rest of them. So does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So of course, these are different types of physical inspections, mechanical, vacuuming. Like I said, in Oregon, we are only requiring one location, one visuals point. It says outside a meter box, but if you can see inside the meter box, it's okay too. Getting started, develop your plan. Our program or me, we don't have to approve any plan that you set forth. You just go forth. But if you feel that you want to meet and talk about it, it's fine too. I've had several meetings with different municipalities. Staff time, make sure, work with all your public works staff on while they're out in the field doing work. Even if, let's just say, a homeowner's having some work done and they have maybe they have some of their line dug up, but a plumber is doing some work, who knows, right? Well, hey, if you're actually out and about, you actually see them doing some work, maybe they'll allow you to at least come to look or at least talk and just document while you can see it. So assistance. I'm not sure if Rob was able to get on this call. HBH Engineering.
I'm here.
Yay! Rob, you want to talk about what you guys can do?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. So, HBH Consulting Engineers and OAWU have a contract with the Oregon Health Authority to provide technical assistance on helping you navigate this process. So Northern Oregon and Eastern Oregon is in our territory. That doesn't mean we can't switch things back and forth if you have a really close relationship with OAWU, or, but that would just be something that we would work out with them. So the contract allows is 6 technical assistance hours per system. So that doesn't include driving time. So if we need to come out to your water system, so that 6 hours doesn't include the time to drive out there. But there's lots of different things we can do to help, whether it's just basically summarize things like Amy is doing right now to get you on the right path, answer questions, do site visits. We've done site visits where systems, especially smaller systems, have no idea what material they're looking at on their on their service. So we've gone out and done the scratch test, the magnet test, and that sort of thing on there. But there really isn't a whole lot of limitations to what we can do for technical assistance, but except for the 6 hours. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions you have or any assistance you might need with any of this process. So, and understanding that, this is something that we're learning really quickly as we're moving through with our technical assistance, but this isn't something that you guys do all the time, and it's something you're really doing this once until the next level of inventory comes out. But I guess there's no stupid questions. We've got some questions that have been interesting, but there's no stupid questions. And a couple things that have been concerns for water systems is no, we're not out there as spies for OHA to let them know everything that you might be doing wrong. I don't, and it's not really the way OHA operates anyway, but, and, you know, and we're not there to take your water systems away. That's actually been a common one we've gotten from like mobile home parks and really small systems. A lot of concern about us going there and basically reporting back to OHA things that are outside of this purveyance. Now, that doesn't mean that when we go out there, if we see something, we might say, hey, maybe you guys need to do this or do that. But you know, this contract is just for the lead service line thing. So I don't know what else I need to say, but other than that, we're here to basically give you whatever support you need.
What's your contact information?
Oh, so I could put that.
I think I have it on here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure that I'm sure I have it on there, but I will double check as we get further.
Thanks.
So yeah, just let people know, just because, Rob and HBH, are contracted with us, and even I've talked with some of you too, and just because, I work for the drinking water program, I can take my regulator cap off, and there's nothing you can, it's fine. A lot of people, there's issues. What can we do to fix it? And that's what we can do to help. I don't technically cover your area, but I have spoken with several of you, and it's okay. Okay.
Rob, when you say north, you're clear up to northwest and even city of Warrenton, coastal areas.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think he's kind of from, is it Tillamook on north, or is it Lincoln City?
I think Lincoln City is under ours and Newport is not. So.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where the line's at. Yeah.
Mhm.
They can also help you with the spreadsheet, and there we also have another way of submitting the information, and that's with a data portal that I'll talk about here in a second. But I will show you the spreadsheet. This is kind of more talking about what the assistants can do. No, Rob will not be coming out with a shovel to help dig to see what the lines are. That's not what they do. Okay, what about unknowns? Can you submit an inventory in October? It's like, you know what? We still have some unknowns. We don't want to do anything else. Okay, it's fine. Yes, you can do that. Will you eventually need to know what those materials are? Yes, you will have to still determine those. That's part of the LCRI. What will be associated with any of the unknowns will then be a targeted public notice to those residences. And those templates are supposed to be coming out here pretty soon from EPA. So those homes would then have to be sent a letter saying, well, we don't know what your service line material is. So will that generate more questions, or I don't know, but that's why I'm just kind of encouraging you, if you are able to do the statistical method, if there are lines you don't know and it makes sense to do the statistical, then that's why I'm encouraging you to try and do it.
Call block.
Those notices are supposed to come due 30 days after the inventory is complete. We are not using if you turn it in tomorrow, that is not when the 30-day clock starts. It does not start until after the October 16th submission date for the inventory. So November 15th is when those notices have to be sent out to your customers.
And are we sending those notices out, Amy?
If you have any of these material types, yes.
Okay, and you're gonna give us what those notices look like and should say, and all that stuff is just gonna be a pre-written document that we just issue out?
Yep.
Okay,
So making that inventory publicly available. Like I said, that one's a little bit on the fluid side. I'm still not quite sure. It depends on what's in the LCRI when that comes out later. Yes, there is some money available. The bilateral infrastructure, bipartisan. Oh, I can't say. I keep saying bilateral. I don't know why. So Bill, let's just call it Bill. The cutoff for requesting assistance has already kind of passed for this year's funding. We did not apply for any money last year because we did not have any projects identified. And we had 5 or 6 systems apply for funding for this year. The thing is with this money, it's not all free. It's only 49% grant money to the disadvantaged communities. And it would help, and you could use it for your service line inventory work. And that's all that the people put in for. Keeping in mind this money, because we have to apply for EPA, I think either June or July. So we won't know if we even get awarded any money to then loan out to the systems for a while. So the money won't even be released until at the end of the year. So the systems still have to turn in what they've got, but then they can use that money if we do get it and they do get their award for the inventory work. It has to be a contracted third-party work. It's not to pay your own city staff to do the work. It's just contracting out with somebody else.
the money is, there's no money available for this fiscal year, meaning
Correct.
June 30th.
Correct. But what I'm telling people is that this is a multi-year project. So let's just say, hey, we weren't able to get it all done, but if you wanted to look at contracting it out to do this for next year, then I would encourage systems. We'll see how things go this year, but I'm pretty sure then it's going to be available so you could apply for funding for next year.
And where do we apply for that funding, Amy? Is that on that same website portal that you showed us earlier?
Yes.
Okay.
And it takes you to that link because I'm on that committee too.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't colored my hair lately, but this is on the page. I just kind of screen captured it and it's listed under here. I just put it on there because you see the letter of interest form by March 15th. So it's already passed, but I want to show you that that's kind of what it looks like on the page. And things will be updated for next year.
Okay.
Like I said, it's okay if you're like turned in, it's like, well, it's not very good. And we want to go ahead and look at some contract work and, do it next year. It's fine.
Okay.
So the reporting, the entire inventory must be submitted. What some of the inventories that I've received, we don't have enough time for all my stories, but one system that had like 125 connections, they listed one. They didn't realize that they had to list all of them. Another community, a larger one, they had like 300 some of the statistical unknowns. So then, they had about 14,000 connections, but the only things that they put on the inventory was just the 300. So they're having to go back to put the other remaining 13,500 lines back on their spreadsheet. You have to use our spreadsheet or the data portal. I have had at least 2 systems submit the EPA template. Now, that being said, if you do use an EPA template, it's okay. It's really easy because I just cut and paste into ours. So, and you guys are like small. It does not take a lot of time. So whatever template you use is okay, but what gets submitted to us has to be our template. And like I said, I've been able to cut and paste into ours, and so that's fine. And I will show you what the required elements are and then what the optional ones are. Okay, this is our main page. If you have not seen our main page before, I don't say it because I work for the drinking water program, but there's a lot of good stuff on there. And if you don't know how to find it, it's just really easy just to Google Oregon drinking water and you'll find it. And I think I have something coming on later. I will say it in case more than once. Towards the top, you'll see 4 buttons. One says contact us, one says sign up for DWS alerts, and one is the advisory map, and one's the data online. The sign up for DWS alerts, if you have not signed up for that, I strongly encourage you to sign up with your email. We do not sell your emails. We do not send out emails daily to plug up your email. We don't do that. But we no longer mail out the physical version of our newsletter, our pipeline newsletter that comes all out emailed, and that's comes from people who are signed up for those alerts. And any important information that we need to get out between those newsletters gets pushed out on these, we call them it's called Gov Delivery, but it's what these alerts are. So I just strongly encourage you to sign up as many people as you can, just to kind of keep in the loop on things. But as far as how to find the Lead and Copper page, in case you want to find it on our page, the arrow is pointing to the rules and implementation guidance. And then from there, you go to the service line inventory, and here's the page. The QR code at the top goes directly to the page. We have an updated FAQ. We have an updated statistical guidance. I have 3 templates currently. One is for larger community systems. One is for systems smaller, under than 100, just because it's a smaller file size. So it doesn't take quite as long to open up on your computers. And then the third one is for the non-transient, non-community water systems. To submit your inventory, you can email it, the Excel file, to that address listed. If you can see it, it might be kind of small on your side. But it's our data management crew, and you will get an auto-generated email back saying that your email was received. A lot of people have been emailing it to me too if I want to look at it, and that's fine too. The technical assistance is underneath that, and it shows you the 2 different zones. There is Excel files. If you're not 100% sure what zone you're in, you can look to see if your system's on it. And then it has Rob's phone number on there and OAW's phone number on there. Okay. Now, the other option for submitting this, if you do not want to submit the Excel file, and I keep saying Excel file because I had several people PDF the file and send it in, and you can't do that. One of them was a really small park, a mobile home park in Salem, and his PDF was 1,500 pages. But we have to have the actual Excel file because it has some calculations in it. And that's what we use to import into our data set. This QR code, if it works, is for 120 water. They are also contracted with the state of Oregon to provide a data portal, so all community systems and non-transient have your own page that you can import your data into. It's really slick. The basic service that they're providing is free. They do have some additional perks if a system wanted to pay extra for it, that's on you, but the basic data portal, it's all free. The QR code, they are starting their training sessions on how to access your data portal, and those actually the first session starts today. But you can scan it. They are offering 5 training sessions to show you how to do it. It's just a really neat deal. It maps out your system, and it's really slick. Coming from somebody who can't use Zoom very good, but I thought it was pretty neat. I know you can't read this, but I kind of I had to put it on so I can kind of read it myself, but they have classes starting today, Wednesday, and I think they're not very long. I think they're only a couple hours at the most. And then they've got classes April 26th, April 30th, and May 2nd. Okay, and I already mentioned on how to stay informed. Questions. So let me get into showing you. And I don't know what side I'm looking at here. Are you seeing the spreadsheet or are you seeing my presentation?
Spreadsheet.
Okay. So, and I'm sorry, this is probably small for your end too. Make sure you fill out, this is the big thing to note is that the inventory template has 4 tabs at the bottom. You have a description tab that explains each of the boxes on the inventory, what it means, how to fill it out. The black are the required fields, and then you have your good to knows and your blue and green. The purple are calculated boxes that are locked that you cannot do anything with. Then you have the inventory tab. I have a lot of people, for some reason, I need to figure out how to fix it. I think the template opens up to the methodology tab, and people didn't know where to put their stuff in. They just started putting in their inventory down at the bottom. But anyway, I'm gonna go back to here before I go back to methodology. But this is where you fill in all of your information, your organ ID number, your name, who filled it out. It'd be really helpful if you could put your phone number in there too, in case I have any questions for follow-up. When it was submitted, this purple square at the top is the summary that our calculations will then calculate what you put in on what the final material type is. So even though you have one line, it's kind of like 2 halves. So it looks at both halves to calculate what your material type is.
Amy, Ray Steele again with Thailand Water Co-op. Are you
Yes.
will you step through each of these drop down tabs? Because they are a
Yes.
little confusing.
Yes. So for site ID, that can just be your meter box. Mobile homes have been using, like, you do spaces 1 through 50. And it's easy to do, like, and it's very easy just to drag down. Oh, that doesn't help. Anyway, supposed to keep doing it. Anyway, I strongly recommend you just go ahead and put everyone's addresses down there. Let's see.
How come I'm not on here?
This is my mom's house in Astoria. So,
It's up there.
so I just recommend addresses for your location identifier. The water system owned material type. I don't know what her material type is. Your choices are lead, the galvanized, either iron or steel. Then you have your non-lead options, copper, plastic. The non-lead, non-specified has to do with statistical. I'm not sure what non-lead other, I have to go back to the description tab. The non-lead greater than 2 inches, then you have your non-lead post 1885, and then you have your unknown. Or you have non-PWSO, and that's really more on the other side. I'll show you in a minute. How did you determine this information? Did you inspect it? Do you have records and inspection? And then we can get into the statistical part. And it's important, if you do the statistical, I need to know which houses do you statistically look at to get your answers, and then so that we make sure that you looked at enough of them. So then you have your statistical that you did inspect, and then the statistical that were still unknown, that were not inspected as part of the statistical, but they're still not lead because it was part of the statistical. It just helps us make sure. The customer owned side. There are a lot of systems that maybe don't have water meters. Not that, I'm sure that probably doesn't apply to you guys. And that's where the not customer owned comes into play, where they don't own the line. The water system does all maintenance from the main to the house.
Hey, Amy, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt you.
You're fine.
City manager has got to use our Zoom for an important meeting.
Yeah.
So I drop off. I apologize.
You're fine.
So it's gonna abort the call. I apologize to everybody. I didn't know he was gonna need this Zoom, so if there's any questions based on the presentation, we'll just send them to you in email.
Yes.
But I gotta drop the call, you guys. I apologize.
Karen, great meeting. Thank you so much. And Amy, really thank you. City of Warrenton here, but just quick, excellent presentation, and really appreciate all the help and information.
Yep. And I'll have my information on there, and I will send this out so you guys can
My-
have the presentation and you can reach out to me.
Doing my taxes, she wanted my W-2, and I wrote back, didn't you? She found it. I'm good.
Okay.
Up to Rassin Alligators. Today's the day.
All right. So are we
Yeah, Buck,
good?
you need to mute your mic. We're all hearing about your taxes, bud.
Okay. So are we still on, or was it just kind of?
It's just them. Ours is still running the Zoom.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so then you have your customer owned portion that has the same material types that you can list. If the customer service line is galvanized, like let's just say in my house in Pendleton, my line is galvanized. In the city, let's just say the city that. Let's just pretend that the city's is galvanized too. I don't know what theirs is. That's my house. Okay. If the city, unfortunately, this is the critical part. If the city, because my house is like 1946, if they do not have the records to concretely know that there was never any not lead on the city side, if they don't know back to 1946 what the material types are, so if the customer service line is galvanized, which is mine is, if the city does not have that track record of everything that what the city owned service line is, so they can't say, well, we don't know if there's ever a lead service line. We just have records going back to 1965, let's just say. So unfortunately, you would have to say, unknown, because you just don't know. That would make my line a galvanized requiring replacement. Don't let that freak you out. I don't know what that means yet, because we're trying to, I propose this to my boss. And I think what's going to be coming in the LCRI is work having to be done because of known lead. And I don't want to see systems have this galvanized requiring replacement because of a paperwork issue. I can understand if, hey, yes, there was actually lead there, and making mine a true galvanized requiring replacement because there actually was known lead. But in the event of not knowing, to me, digging up thousands of lines because of records is silly. So we're kind of seeing where that's going to go. So even though you might have some with this galvanized requiring replacement, don't freak out about that. And I'm hoping Colorado has a really good policy in place. And so my boss wants me to look at something for Oregon for a statewide policy on this. So I need to start working on that too. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but the city of Pendleton came to me and said, well, you have a GRR line and you need to replace it. And I said, yeah, well, that's not happening, and I'm fine. So, but like I said, that's kind of going on further down the pipe. The only thing we're focusing on right now is the inventory. So let's just worry about that for right now, but don't worry too much about the classifications at this point, I guess is really kind of what I'm trying to say. I know this is probably hard to read on your end, but the good to know stuff, type of connection, the connector material that we're strongly encouraging, if you do know what the connector material is to list it. Interior plumbing material, water system main and size, year installed. So it's just kind of good to know stuff, that's all. I'm not really too familiar with like GIS layers. A lot of systems are able to have all their stuff on a GIS layer, and I don't know how that works, or if you're able to import stuff into an Excel file or how that works, but this file has been easy, at least for what I've needed to do for systems that have submitted the inventory, to be able to cut and paste into it. So,
How about records only there, Amy? The last column.
this is the customer side. So like in my part, I actually sent like customer data. I sent this to the city on my end. But you have records, on-site inspection, records and inspection, customer data, and then you have the statistical part. Statistical inspected, let's say, oh, hey, I got picked as one of the sites for statistical, so you have to make sure you mark that. Or if I'm part of the statistical, but you did not physically inspect my house. That's how we know which ones were part of that statistical, because I'm tracking systems that did do statistical, how many they visually inspected, and then how many total unknowns they had. So that's how we kind of know.
And Amy, just so I'm clear, you're saying you have to list all the homes, but only, or all the sites, but if you're doing the statistical method, this is where you would tell us where that would be then, correct?
Yes,
But don't exclude all the other homes.
correct.
Only exclude the statistical ones. In other words, don't just include the statistical ones, include everything, but
Correct.
know which ones are statistical.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Ignore this replacement plan tab, which is worthless. The methodology tab. This is where you help explain to me, how did you come up with what you came up with? Materials evaluation, construction records, water system records, system inspections records, other, homeowner, whatever. Fill it in, explain to me how you came about it, and your confidence level on it. Quick note, lead and copper sampling at a house does not determine pipe material. It's like, oh, well, that house has been one of the sites that we've used for our tap samples. So there hasn't been any lead detections there, so we're sure it's not lead. Nope. Those sample results, you cannot use them. We had some systems wanting to just do a bunch of lead and copper samples at all the houses to make their determination, and you can't do that. So, how you identify the materials, service line investigations, and down here, if you talk about the statistical, how you did it, and then you turn it in. And like I said, you can also, even if you do fill out the inventory, if you wanted to use 120 Water's data portal, you can use our inventory to do so. I met with 120 last week because we kind of had to modify this spreadsheet a little bit to match their inputs for the data, because their data requires a address, city, state, and zip for their database. And so the template is going to have to be changed a little bit for their inventory. So if there's a system, if any of you are interested in using 120 Water's data portal, hopefully in the next couple weeks, hopefully by next week, we will have the 120 Water's inventory template that you can use. And that can only be used for their data portal, because we're cutting some stuff out, like the calculation factors and everything, and it'll clearly say This, you know, it's for 120 Waters data portal only. You can't fill it out and then send it in to us. So I'll just make sure I make that clear. So that is that. Do you have any questions?
This is Jack there from Tideland Water. We have one meter that goes to a campground. It's a 2-inch line on both sides of the meter, plastic.
Okay.
And then it goes to 72 lots. And those lots each come off of that 2-inch line. I'm 99% certain they're all plastic at this point. So we just report on what's on each side of the meter for now. It's 2-inch line plastic.
Well, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I'm pretty sure you're not gonna like my answer on this. That's why I'm hesitating. Hold on, let me go down, let me go over here.
Did he say there was a 2-inch water meter on that line?
It's not a 2-inch meter, but the pipes on both sides are 2-inch plastic.
Because we have, I sit in on Region 10 EPA meetings, and oh geez. So what if a service line branches on customer property? So is it, you said
It's their 2-inch line. Once it
Right.
goes to the meter, it's not ours.
right?
We
Is
have
it,
nothing to do.
did you say it was a campground or was it
Yeah.
a mobile home park?
It's a weird thing. They've got some permanent homes in there. They're tiny homes. And then the majority of them are just campsites. So at any given time in the summer, there might be a motor home park there. There might be a travel trailer. There might be 2
Right.
travel trailers there. We have no control over that.
I'm gonna ponder. I need to ponder. Okay. And who was this again?
Tideland Water Co-op. It's in the Halem. It's a little, we only have 20 meters. Well, actually 22 meters.
Amy, I will send you and CC Jack in there so you both have each other's contact information.
Okay, because I have something in my head that's swirling around, but I need to double check on some things because I want things to make sense and not be stressful too. So let me double check on that. What else? So that's all the excitement part that is on the lead and copper rule inventory. I will get back to you, Jack. We can talk about this. Any other questions that I can try and answer for you guys? Have any of you guys started it? Has it? Brian, I can tell. It looks like you've started it. I could tell by your laughing. So has nobody started their inventory yet? Then
Tideland Water, we know on all our meters what's on both sides of the meter, what the material is, and we don't have any lead or copper. It's all plastic or PEX.
perfect.
And we know, and we got all the addresses. So we're just waiting to fill out the waiting for this meeting to fill out the the spreadsheet.
Perfect. And I encourage, I've had some really big systems that are like, oh yeah, we're all scheduled to turn them in on October 16th. I'm just really encouraging you, if you do get it done sooner, to turn it in sooner, so that gives us time, or me time, to look them over. So I just don't want to get stuck with 1,000 inventories being submitted in October. So
This is Jessica with Highland Water. Out of our 70 systems, I think a couple of them fall under the Oregon Very Small. So
Oh.
I think probably, I mean, in total, maybe 55 systems is what we have. And we have made a dent in those. I think we're probably maybe halfway there. But I have not submitted, knowing that you're don't want to get overwhelmed. I might just start getting those submitted now then.
perfect. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Avion. They're kind of more in the Bend area, and they have several water systems that they oversee too. And they've turned in, I don't know, about 20 of theirs, but they don't have them all turned in yet. They still have some of the bigger ones that they're waiting on. But
Yeah, we have some bigger systems that actually they themselves opted to just do 100% of the unknowns, because their concern was that the state would come back with, well, now that we've done that, and with the statistical guidance, there was concern that the state would come back and say, actually, now that you've done that, we actually want all of the data. And so they actually just opted to get all of their unknowns done at this time.
yeah, which is great. We don't know, like I said, what's coming in the LCRI, and I'm just hopeful then hopefully we're just hoping things go the way that we're hoping that they're going to. We just don't know yet. So, but yeah, as far as the unknowns, I can guarantee you that if there's any unknowns listed, that at least what was stated in the LCRI was they must all be determined. So it doesn't have to happen by October, but it will be at some point. Yes, sir.
Hey, I also heard other people request, Amy, the recording of this. Can I get this? We missed somebody that's a key component in our survey here.
Sure.
So if you can get that to me. And
I
then
think-
I guess the other question was, are you even getting any water out of your galvanized line at your house?
Am I doing what? Am I
Are you
getting any
even
water?
getting any volume of water out of your
Yeah,
galvanized line at your house?
Yeah, I got actually great water pressure at my house.
Okay, it's not pressure, it's volume.
Except when my dishwasher is leaking all over my floor and I have to people come out to my dishwasher on Wednesday. But anyway, that's a whole other issue that does have to do with my galvanized line. But yeah, I did talk with the city of Pendleton when they were at the short school in Ontario last week, and they're one of the ones that will be submitting a lot of unknowns. They are choosing not to do the statistical method. They're putting in what they know and what they don't know, and then they are going on their day. Like, okay.
So a couple things, Amy, what's the smallest system size that would have to report?
Well, it's all community systems by their water system designation. A community water system is anybody that serves over, let's see. So you had to have over.
You know, what's bad is that's I think one of the test questions from when we all took our test years and years ago.
Right. So you have to have more than 25 year-round residents and more than 15 connections. And we can go by either number of connections or population served to determine if it's a community water system, non-transient, or like work facilities with a lot of over more than 25 daily employees. Like we have a couple Amazon data centers out here, or like a Love's Travel center out here that has, the restaurants, and they have more than 25 employees. So they're a non-transient system, and they also have to do lead and copper samples as part of their chemical monitoring. So it's those two system types that have to do it. The really small systems like the OVS, the really, really small systems, they don't have to do this because they're not already, they're not required to do lead and copper samples. So they are not factored in on this.
Okay. The other thing is this this was recorded. I don't know how it records it in, but I will get my IT guy to essentially pull it, and essentially the city's posted typically this stuff to YouTube. So I'll get a link, I'll attach it to Amy's PowerPoint as a QR code and a link on it, and then we'll try to shove it out to everybody. If you don't receive it, if you can reach out to myself or to Amy, then we'll have a link to be able to share with you. I would imagine by the end of the day, we should have that available.
Try and stop sharing my stuff here. I can't figure it out.
Very nice presentation, Amy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But yeah, let me know if you have any questions or if I didn't answer something, and it's okay. And we will work through it. So
Thank you, Amy.
I appreciate all of you and your hard work. I know this is a lot of work.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you, Amy. And your email, would I be able to get your direct email for any questions I have for specific systems?
Is there, I didn't know how to, I'm trying to exit out of here so I can, but it's Amelia, AMELIA dot A as an apple dot word WORD at OHA.Oregon.gov. And my direct line is 541-966-0901.
Okay, I appreciate that, Amy. I believe we've spoken before, but I appreciate that. And if I have questions further, I will reach out to you because, I mean, with all of our systems, there's bound to be questions.
Perfect.
But I appreciate you taking the time and meeting with all of us.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Amy.
Anybody else, or are we good?
I got nothing else here from my side. If anybody has any questions, I'm going to post. I'm doing 3 screens, including a desktop.
You have 3 screens?
I have 2 screens and a projector as a 3rd screen at the moment. So this is really complicated. I got to figure out which one has the information I'm trying to share. This one. And it did not share what I wanted to share. Oh, no, it did. It did share. I had to look at the other screen. So, folks, there's some of the contact emails for Amy. Like I said, I should be pushing out the information this afternoon. If you don't receive it, feel free to drop me an email or drop Amy an email. We'll get you the link to the video and or PowerPoint.
Hey, Dan, could you throw my contact stuff on there too?
I probably could. Go back and look at my emails for you.
I can send you a separate email with everything too, just.
All right. Hopefully that showed up for everybody.
Yep.
All right.
Look good, Rob. Looks good.
Yep.
Well, Amy, if you don't have anything else, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in. I think it helps wrap up a lot of misinformation, unknown information that's been out there about the lead inventory. I know when I was at her conference at Sun River, it was a ton of help because I had heard all kinds of horror stories, like I was gonna have to dig up next to foundations and 6 feet into property. And yeah, as soon as she said, "Oh yeah, meter box," I was like, "For us, sold," because most of us here on the coast, we don't even use meter setters, so it saved a ton of heartache for us here at Manzanita.
Good,
Hopefully, it did that for everybody else.
good. Yep, any questions or if you need to complain or you need to cry, it's okay. Call, we're good.
Well, if nobody has anything else, without further ado, I'm gonna end the presentation and call this done.
Perfect. Thank you so
All
much for organizing it.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Amy, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Tell your sister hi. I think you're, I haven't seen her forever. I think I know who your sister is. I think
Yeah,
we've spoken
Julie.
before. Yes.
Yeah,
Tell her-
her and Peter live in Albany, so
Yeah, tell her Teresa and Brian said hi. We miss her.
absolutely.
Okay, take care, girl.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.